welcome to Wilhelm. I am your host, Ben Beck, and on this episode, we're diving back into childhood memories, young adult memories, whatever you want to consider it. We are revealing our top 5 favorite movies you'll never outgrow, no matter how old you get. We're talking movies. I look back to movies maybe before my teenage years that came out. But of course, I need a co-host for this episode. I'm excited. It's his first time on the podcast, hopefully not the last. But I've enjoyed working with him in other ways that I'm sure he's going to tell you about. He has his own TikTok. He's a teacher, but of course, he is the program director for Altered Reality Events. Please welcome to Wilhelm, my friend, Michael Gianfrancesco.
Hey, Ben, thanks for inviting me to be part of this. Love the show. And I'm really psyched to be a guest host. This is cool.
Yeah, I know we talked a lot about this in Rhode Island. I know, we had talked numerous times in, phone calls and such and Zoom meetings, but we met for the first time in person at Rhode Island last year. And of course, I extended the invite to you then and you accepted, and here we go. We're off to the races.
Yeah, I didn't recognize you. When I saw you for the first time, I was in business mode, just directing people and pointing fingers left and right. And then I was pointed out that you were standing there. I was like, oh, man, there he is.
Yeah, you had a lot to do. Rhode Island is, I know we'll talk about this a little bit later, too, towards the end. But, man, I was so impressed in just the size and scope of Rhode Island Comic-Con. It had been a show that had been on my radar for years, and I was excited to finally get to be brought in and be a part of it. And then it blew away my expectations, not only just the size and scope of the show, as I mentioned, but just the Altered Reality team themselves were just it. I've said this to a number of different people, but your Altered Reality team, programming, staffing, volunteers, they are bar none the best team of people I've ever worked with when it comes to a show.
Oh man, that's really nice. It's a great compliment. Thank you. Yeah, we're the bad news bears of the Comic-Con world, Speaking of movies you'll never outgrow. We're just a bunch of people that are nerds. Most of us have like day jobs. Like you said, I'm a teacher. My assistant programmer is like a manager he works at Verizon cell phone store or whatever. I don't know if we could say names of brands on your show or whatever. Not sponsored. But we're all just people that during the rest of the year work our regular jobs, and on the side, most of us, there are some full-time employees, but most of us, we come in for the shows. We do we do the run-up work in the deep in the shadows, and just pull together every year, multiple times a year for multiple shows. And somehow we've managed to put something together that's gotten some serious national attention over the years with our guest lists and some of the viral moments that have happened over the years. So it's great. I thank you for complimenting the team. They deserve it. All of them work very, very hard to make the show successful, provide good memories for the people that attend. So thank you for that.
Yeah, not a problem. And I've made a lot of great friends just from working one show, and I'm sure I'll make more along the way. So I'm excited, and I'm excited to have you on too, because this is a topic that I came up with all of a sudden, and then the moment I thought of it, I was like, wow, this is going to be a tough one to do, because there are so many movies that I said this to you before we started recording. Our generation had the best movies when we were growing up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was an embarrassment of riches of films.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a testament to, this topic and ones that we're bringing up and the number of honorable mentions that we have, that, yes, these are movies from our childhood. So we're talking, or, from our younger days, we're talking movies that are 20, 30, 40 and beyond years old. But we still continue to watch them, which means they hold up. Well, most of them probably hold up. Maybe not all of them.
Yeah, some of them. I think the nostalgia factor weighs in pretty heavily for me, for I think a lot of my choices. But we'll let you be the judge of that, and your listeners too.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. So to anybody who's listening for the first time, obviously, we're going to dive through into our top five, going from 5 to 1, and then we'll throw out some honorable mentions at the end that we'll go through relatively quickly. Neither Michael or myself have revealed our top fives to each other, so this way we don't influence each other's choices. So he doesn't know any of mine, I don't know any of his, and I mean we're well beyond spoiler territory for any of these movies, so uh, you've got the spoiler warning for the episode. I went with my list. I went with movies. I pretty much tried to go with anything. I was born in '79, so I went with anything that came out before I became a teenager. So 12 years old, younger. That was how I formatted my list. I don't know if that's how you worked with yours, but we'll see as we go through.
Yeah, I'm a little older than you. I'm not going to reveal my age. My
That's all right.
students are always trying to figure it out, and they are very ruthless in their attempts to find me on the internet and do that. But I did something similar, but although I did include a lot of movies I saw as a teenager. So because I think that's when I kind of started to understand like the value of film. You know, as a kid, you go to movies, whatever movies your parents like drag you to, and that becomes your movie. But when I started choosing for myself, I think that's where a lot of mine lie. Not all of them, but a lot of them do.
Yeah. No, fair enough. All right. So then, with that being said, let's dive into our lists and kick it off with number 5. I'll send it over to you. What have you got for your number 5?
All right, my number 5 selection or selections. It's a tie. I have 2 movies. We talked about the fact that I could not come up with just 5. I had to have a 6th one shoehorned in there. Was between 2 films that, well, the first is E.T. That's the first film that I selected.
Gotcha.
I was a kid when I saw this movie. So I was not a teenager, but something about it was the first movie that I can remember. Or one of the first movies, I should say, that I can remember having a huge kind of hype bus kind of driving all over the world on it. Like there was merchandise, there was ET everything, ET cereal, ET toys, ET toothbrushes, bed sheets, underoos. Like ET was all over the place. It was in commercials everywhere. Reese's Pieces, everybody was going crazy eating Reese's Pieces because of ET. And there was that film. I remember wanting to see it. It had come out, and my parents didn't get me to the theater right away to see it. And I was just so anxious. I was trying to consume as much ET propaganda as I could, and I hadn't even seen the movie. Like I was so sold on the hype train for that film. And today, I mean, I know that Spielberg went back and made changes to the film and then made adjustments to, change guns into walkie-talkies and stuff, and modified some of the original effects, adding some digital effects to some of the sequences. That stuff doesn't really bother me all that much, but I could throw ET on, and I have a 12-year-old son now, and a lot of these films are films that I'm introducing him to or have introduced him to. Or if they show up in the theater again, as a special re-release, we go back to the theaters to see them. E.T. is one I could watch just about any time. Still to this day, it remains kind of etched in my mind as a period of my childhood that just was iconic. Those E.T. moments. The other film that I have tied for 5th place is this is where I struggle. This is like my favorite movie of all time. I think maybe one of them. It's been superseded, I think, in recent years with some of the Marvel films, but this is one that when I was younger, I loved, which is The Blues Brothers, a movie I saw as a kid. Again, a big fan of SNL in the 80s when the Blues Brothers used to show up there with Aykroyd and Belushi doing their thing and then seeing the film, it became, when I was a young adult, I loved the movie so much as a kid. As a young adult, I found a group of friends and we all loved it. We used to watch the movie every 2 weeks, if there was nothing else to do or before we went out for the night to the bars or whatever. And we would watch it again and quote it to each other. We knew the lyrics to every song. We knew every line of the movie from top to bottom. We even sought out. I got a chance to meet Matt Guitar Murphy at a bar in Providence. He was playing, and we got a chance to talk to him. That became a legendary moment among my friends that we still talk about. Some of the things that we saw him walk into the bar and he's playing pool, and there was like 14 empty beer bottles lined up on the pool table. And he was just playing pool. We walked in. His band hadn't set up yet. We got there early, and he was just playing pool in the bar with some of the people from his crew. And we just went over and started having a conversation with him, and he played a bunch of Blues Brothers songs. Something about the magic of that film, like the magic car that they drive around in that can do amazing, unbelievable things. So those two, for me, are my number 5 choices together. E.T. and the Blues Brothers, 2 very different films, I know, but movies. The Blues Brothers was the one of the first movies I bought on digital when it was like, let's buy it on digital, and so I still have the digital version of its extended edition with the extra scenes and stuff. So, cool stuff. Those 2 films.
And they're great picks to kick everything off with too. I mean, you mentioned E.T. I'm a sucker for that movie as well. Didn't make my top 5, but it was really close. It is in my honorable mentions. I still eat Reese's Pieces because of E.T. I mean, it's, I still eat Reese's Pieces constantly for that. And I don't know if you mentioned you have a 12-year-old son, which is one of the reasons why I asked you to do this episode with me, is because I figured these are probably movies you're revisiting because of your son. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you or your son are Minecraft players at all. But they just released a pack, and I bought it purely for the nostalgia, where they recreated Universal Studios with a bunch of the rides, and E.T. the ride is one of the rides in there. And I went in and I rode the ride through Minecraft, and it actually brought back a lot of memories because I rode that ride when I was younger.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we do play Minecraft. I didn't know about that. My son bounces from game to game, so maybe we'll throw that one back on and take a look at that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's in the store. I think it was like $8, but it's got the Mummy ride, Back to the Future, Earthquake, Jaws. Like, there's a bunch of Universal Studios rides in there that you can actually ride through. It was pretty cool. So, awesome. Great picks. And Blues Brothers is another one. I mean, that mall scene is a classic scene. So much so that other shows have tried to recreate it. Twisted Metal tried, doing it recently with Anthony Mackie, and it was good, but nobody can ever do it as well as the Blues Brothers.
Oh yeah, that mall was abandoned, right? And they, if I remember correctly, they went in and they furnished and stocked every store in that mall, like it was an empty mall, just to do that, just to destroy everything. That's a fantastic scene, yeah.
And I think anybody who's ever been to a shopping mall after watching the Blues Brothers just always wishes they could just drive through the mall at some point in some way.
Yep.
Especially in the older days when you used to go in there and you used to see like a car like up on a pedestal that like you could win or something. You were just tempted to hop in that car and just start driving. Great picks. My number 5, I went with a movie that's actually before my time, but not much. But it is one of the first movies I ever remember seeing in theaters. Because it was before my time, it had to have been a re-release of some sort, maybe within like 5 years, or maybe like a 10-year anniversary release of it. But I went with a Disney movie that I still love to this day, and it is still probably one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. And that is Pete's Dragon.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The music from that movie, it's one of the first ever instances I think I remember ever of seeing a movie that combined animation with live action, well before Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was, I think, 1988. So we're talking almost a decade before Who Framed Roger Rabbit did it. We had Pete's Dragon, which combined both. Not to the degree that Who Framed Roger Rabbit did it, but who just doesn't love that big green dragon Elliot? It's and then they tried the remake with Bryce Dallas Howard not too long ago, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't. It didn't recapture the magic as well as the original did for me. Mm-hmm. So Pete's Dragon is one I will always go back to if I ever need like a pick me up of some kind. It makes me happy no matter how many times I watch it. That never changes. I just adore that movie, so it had to be in my top 5.
Yeah, it's a film I had forgotten about. That's a good choice, man.
Yeah.
Good choice.
All right, takes us into number 4. What you got for your number 4?
My number 4 is a movie that I saw, I believe, again as a preteen or young teenager, and then it somehow just managed to be super influential for me to this day. Is The Princess Bride?
Of course.
I mean, I know these are probably, that E.T., Princess Bride, they're pretty seminal films. So, I'm not delving as deep as Pete's Dragon just yet, but don't worry, I'll get there, particularly my honorable mentions. But the nature of this film being as different as it was, being kind of a story within a movie, where you have the grandfather reading to the son or the grandson the story, reading out of the book, and then having the actors, kind of like shifting and changing based on like the interruptions, and the kid, it keeps pulling you out of the story back to the kid's bedroom. I always thought that was kind of unique in filmmaking at the time. I hadn't seen any kind of fourth wall. I mean, there was a little of it here and there, like Spinal Tap and stuff like that, which was like mockumentary style, but this was more like a fourth wall break kind of film, which I really like. That I like when you play with filmmaking, and I think this may have been one of the first films where I noticed it and started to kind of get me on that path of really, like that whole Deadpool, She-Hulk kind of thing, where the characters are aware that their characters are, there's just kind of like this, you get deep and intense into a scene, and then it cuts back to the kid because he has a question, interrupts you. And being a dad now, that hits different as a father now, because you try to tell a kid a story or read a story that you love, and they keep stopping you to ask questions. And, when you yourself get engulfed in the story and have to stop and explain, or, don't worry, there's not going to be a lot of kissing. It's just going to move on. There's going to be more action later. Don't worry, Plus, I think the acting is fantastic. I was a wrestling fan as a kid, so Andre the Giant being in this film, doing his thing, was appealing to me. And in the years since, as the director of programming for Rhode Island Comic Con, I've gotten a chance to meet a lot of the actors that were in those films, like Carrie Elways, Wallace Shawn, and other, actors that have been in the film. Love to
Chris Sarandon,
right? Yeah,
most recently in November. Yeah,
sure, right, yeah, and I really want to meet Mandy Patinkin. I love his TikTok. He's hysterically funny. He's kind of down to earth, grounded kind of sentimentality with him and his wife and his son, kind of like goofing around. So yeah, I think it could be one of the most perfect movies ever made for me. And when I was a kid, it was the first movie poster I ever bought, was The Princess Bride. One of my first serious girlfriends loved the song Storybook Love that plays over the ending credits. So I bought the soundtrack so that we could play that music, that really, euphoric first relationship when you're a teenager kind of stuff. All those things kind of stuck with me. So if I can watch The Princess Bride, it's always an easy throw it on streaming and let's check it out again kind of film.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick, and it's one of those ones. I'm with you. I've had a lot of opportunities, and we mentioned most notably in November Chris Sarandon. I actually was the one that got to moderate his panel at Rhode Island Comic Con, so I got to have conversations with him. I had earlier, a year or so before that, I had the great opportunity to moderate for Carrie Elwes, who was just genuinely one of the nicest guys I had ever worked with when it came to moderating and, and being on stage. But I'm with you. Like it's so close to being a perfect movie. Like so many, just similar to the Blues Brothers, so many movies have kind of tried to replicate it. You mentioned, fourth wall breaks and using Deadpool 2. I don't know if you know this or if you've seen it, but Ryan Reynolds released a second version of Deadpool 2 called Once Upon a Deadpool, where he took a lot of the a lot of the violence, he tried to make it as closer to family friendly as possible. And it was the whole story of Deadpool 2 being told by Deadpool reading the story to Fred Savage, who was tied to a bed.
Yeah, I think I saw that. I did see that. It's pretty good.
Which I think is just, it adds to the brilliance of Ryan Reynolds, but again, it pays homage to The Princess Bride, which I think is just, and for Fred Savage to be a part of it was just as great.
And the short-lived streaming service Quibi, one of the first things that they did when we were locked down during the pandemic was they had actors act out moments of the film and cut them all together into a supercut of Princess Bride. Yeah. So I did actually have Quibi. I did subscribe to it because, we were looking for new content at the time. And I that was the reason I think I did, because I wanted to see that. And they did include, I believe, Carrie Elwes was in there, but he was Prince Humperdinck. I think he played for his part of it. There's just actors across the board that were just locked down, making costumes out of stuff in their house, just doing 30-second scenes, and they cut it together. I think you can find that on YouTube now.
Yeah, I think the whole cut is on YouTube now,
which is really funny. So that's worth checking out if you're a fan of the film too. And Fred Savage, I think, is in it too. I think he does something. I don't remember which part he plays, but it's some good stuff. Mandy Patinkin, I think, does a scene in it as well. So totally worth it.
Yeah, a lot of fun. So for my number 4, I went with, oddly enough, another Walt Disney film. I didn't even really think about it until now. But this one's from a little bit later, 1986, that had a boy getting sucked in time, sent to the future in a spaceship that was navigated by Paul Rubens. And that is Flight of the Navigator.
Nice.
This is a movie I remember just being so odd, but yet so lovable at the same time. Seeing all these, these creatures that were a part of the ship, hearing Paul Rubens' voice that I didn't realize until I was older was Paul Rubens. Because when I grew up, I knew him as nothing more than Pee Wee Herman. And then as the older I got and the more I realized who Paul Rubens was as an actor, then realized Paul Rubens was the voice of the ship. But I mean, this is just another one of those things that, when you're younger, the thought of flying a spacecraft was something every kid maybe not every kid, but a lot of kids kind of dreamed about when we learned about that kind of thing. So this was a movie that was just very fun for me. And it's a little dated now at this point, but it's still a fun watch. It's got very early Sarah Jessica Parker in it as well. Not that matters or will make you want to watch the movie anymore. But when it comes to star power, it was very early for her. Howard Hessman as well, and I mentioned Paul Rubens. But yeah, just a movie that I still love to this day. That's why it made my list. It's with number 4.
That's a great film. One thing I should mention, and maybe I'll bring it up again later, is that for a long time, my friends and I had a podcast, which is still up on Apple Podcasts. You can still find the episodes, although we haven't recorded it in a long time, called the League of Extra Nerdy Parents, which was 4 dads who would take old films that we watched as kids and watch it with our kids, and then talk about our reactions as adults and their reactions as seeing it for the first time as 21st century kids. And that's, I believe, one of the films that we covered in that. So you could find that episode and listen to our kids tell us about what we saw and what they saw and how they liked it. And most of them don't like the movies. We are in the process of bringing that podcast back, kind of retool it a bit. So, hopefully if your listeners are interested in that kind of stuff, they can check out the podcast or subscribe. And there should be new content coming up there soon. But I can talk a little more about that at the end. Yeah. So, but it reminded me, Flight of the Navigator reminded me that was one of the ones that one of the films that we talked about in that show.
What was your son's thoughts on Flight of the Navigator when you did that one?
Honestly, it was so long ago, I don't remember. We're going back. I think we started the podcast in 2015 or something, and we did it for
Okay.
2 or 3 years, and then everybody kind of got busy. Then the pandemic hit. It just became a whole other thing. So I don't remember. You'll have to go listen to the show to find out.
Well, I mean, if nothing else, us talking about all these different movies will give you a bunch of movies you can add to the list of new movies to watch for the podcast when you relaunch it.
Yeah, it is something that when I was compiling this list, I was thinking, man, there's some films on here, and I was sure that you were going to mention a few that we didn't cover that we could come back to. But our kids are older now, like, right? So, my son was like 5 or 6 years old. Now he's going to be 13. My other friends' sons are like 18 now. So we may have to just do something a little different than what we were doing before.
Next generation of it.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see what we come up with.
Yeah. All right. Well, that takes us then into our top 3. What do you have for your number 3?
All right. My number 3, not a kids movie. I don't think I picked any kids movie. Well, maybe one kids movie. It depends on what you define as a kids movie, I suppose. But, we defined it differently in the 80s, right? Because kids movies had some
we were watching movies
stuff
we shouldn't have been watching when we were younger.
But yeah, kids movies. Yeah, but seriously, even still, like movies that were kids movies had some serious themes in them and some questionable moments. So nowadays it's a lot more. They're a lot more guarded about what kids see and how they define that, what G ratings versus PG ratings are and stuff. But my third is a movie, man. That this is one of my favorite movies to throw on in the background when I'm doing something. And it stars a guy who we have had at Comic-Con. I did have a chance to meet him. It's Real Genius.
Val Kilmer.
With Val Kilmer, yeah. At his best, I think Val Kilmer at his most Val Kilmery. Kind of. It was a toss up here between this and one of the movies that ended up on my honorable mentions, which is Willow, because Val Kilmer in those two films are probably my favorite memories of him as an actor, notwithstanding Batman. But those two films, him as Mad Mardigan and him in Real Genius, Real Genius was like the first movie I remember there being kind of like an activist feel to it. The idea that the government is trying to build this super weapon. And they're contracting these college kids that are want their science degrees, that are geniuses, to make this laser. And when they come to the realization that the laser has one purpose, like it will only fire for a moment and it can hit a single target from space, they realize it's an assassination weapon, and then they go about sabotaging it and just breaking it so that it can't be used. I don't know. There's something about the nature of like kids, young people realizing that they have a chance to make a difference, and stepping away from the selfishness of we did it, we get our diplomas, we're good, to, oh my God, what have we done? Really, I don't know. There's something about that. I realized it as a kid watching it. I was like, wow, man, like this is heavier stuff than most films you see as a kid would provide to you. I think we see a lot more of that with representation in film, Disney especially, trying to be more representative, trying to kind of to bring some of that. I wouldn't call it Disney activism, but it might be a little more social justice kind of stuff. This was the first film I remember feeling that way and kind of like getting it, and the scene of them, the kids like jumping in the giant piles of popcorn at the end.
Yeah.
To Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears, right? Like, I remember I was a teenager. I was working at Burger King, and I was up at early because I would open and go in and we'd do all the prep work for the morning and cutting the lettuce and the tomatoes and getting everything ready for the breakfast lunch kind of rushes. And I was sitting there. I had a few minutes, and I had popped the TV on in my room, and that scene was on. And I remember sitting there philosophically thinking about ruling the world. I was like, well, why would anybody want to? Like, listening to the lyrics of the song, it's like it would be a lot of work to rule the world. Like, there's all these villains, Dr. Doom and whatnot, that want to rule the world. But like, once you do, you are responsible for every life on the planet. Like you can't just like, oh, now I get to sit in my big throne and drink mimosas or whatever all day. Like you're like, you have to rule the world. Like, you've taken over. Like, you have to make sure the economies are good, that people are being fed, that the world is moving forward, that it's working. People are going to work. Kids are being educated. The power is on, right? Like, all that stuff has to be controlled by one dude in charge of the entire planet. I was just remember sitting there at like 16 years old going, man, I would never want to rule the world. Like, so it always stuck with me, I guess. And that now my son, for some reason, loves that song. Weird, that he loves a.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Tears for Fears. They're a great band, and that's a great song. But you mentioned, I mean, that's anytime anybody mentions Real Genius, that popcorn scene is always like, it's instantly the first thing I think of.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's so visually stunning and iconic. The kids jumping around, eating, and then leaving with giant wheelbarrows filled with popcorn, bringing them back home. It was cool. The John Grease as Laszlo. The crazy guy that lives in the closet. It's just like there's so much fun stuff in the film. And the actors in it, I mean, a lot of them didn't go on to do a whole lot, except maybe Val Kilmer. John Grease has done quite a bit since then. But the other actors, they're just kind of like going back and seeing them and watching those sequences again, watching, the rivalry between the main character and the professor, the exploding apple that he drops into his trash, just little stuff like that, I don't know. I kind of wanted that when I was a teenager. I was like, I hope that's what college is like. When I go to college, like having a bunch of crazy smart people making ice luges, in the hallway outside the dorms. Obviously, that wasn't what my college.
Yeah, it wasn't what college was like for me either. So,
but that's my number 3.
That's a good one. I mean, and it's another movie too that further solidified that William Atherton always played a dick.
Yeah.
In movies.
And he's coming back for the new
for Frozen Empire. I think he's the mayor.
Is he the mayor now?
I think he's the mayor.
I hope he has a face turn in the movie. Like, he supports them, instead of trying to stop them,
Yeah. I have high hopes for that movie. I loved Afterlife. I'm excited to see him come back, and I'm secretly, maybe not secretly, but I'm hoping they're going to throw us a Louis Tully cameo at some point too.
Yeah, I guess that's up to Rick Moranis to decide that. Yeah, but we'll see. He's back. He's doing a little here and there, so maybe he'll do it.
So for my number 3, I mentioned that I had a tie as well, and this is where my tie comes in. Not as much of a dynamic difference in the ones that you chose between E.T. and the Blues Brothers, because mine are actually a movie and its sequel. So they're just as beloved to me. So I had to choose them, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. I don't mention the third one because it's not worth mentioning. But I just, these are movies that I still quote to this day, especially Secret of the Ooze. I think that there's more quotable lines in that movie than there are in the first one, but the first one still has its share of them. This was cartoons that we loved as a kid in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoons, and then to see live action, and then live action done well. I mean, these movies, granted, the costumes are definitely aged, but they still hold up. They still feel believable, at least to me and to a number of other people I know that watch these movies. And you talked about with E.T., all the marketing hype that they did with E.T. with Reese's Pieces. I mean, Pizza Hut dove on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to the nth degree. Like, Pizza Hut had everything marketed as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I remember there being an album that came out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles performing a concert of like 2 or 3 songs that you could get the cassette tape of. And I remember wanting that cassette tape so bad and getting that cassette tape and listening to it on repeat constantly. But these are just movies that I still just adore to this day. And it's actually thanks to you and Altered Reality that I actually got to meet a number of the people that were part of those movies. I got to meet Judith Hoag. I got to meet I got Ernie Reyes Jr. I got to moderate a panel with Kevin Clash, who was Splinter in those movies. So that was a part of my childhood. I got to relive, thanks through your shows. But these are movies that I will still quote with some of my best friends constantly, and quoting them never gets old. I think one of the quotes that there's not even really a reason for them. It's like, how occasionally someone will reference something and it makes you think of that, and then your movie quote kind of goes along with it. That's not ours at all. We just will throw out these quotes randomly. One of the quotes from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze that we constantly do is, someone will say like, "Oh, that's a little hot." Yeah, a little too hot. And then be like, "Hey, look, it's Raph." Yeah, a little too Raph. They're totally ridiculous, but we just love quoting them. You take the ugly one. No, you take the ugly one. I'll take the ugly one. Well, which one's the ugly one? Like, they're so much fun. And I don't think I might be like in my 80s, and I don't think I will ever get tired of those two movies. They're just a ton of fun.
Yeah, those are two of my wife's favorites. Honestly, she loves them. I mean, they're great films. I like the third one. I'm sorry, I like Turtles. I did like Turtles in Time. I thought it had a kind of a different vibe to it. I didn't hate it. But yeah, getting to meet some of the actors, like we talked about before, having the opportunity to be on, backstage with some of these folks and talk to them. Judith Hoag is one of the sweetest people I think I've ever met. I got a chance to walk her back to her table, and after her panel, and she was so chatty and asking me about me and my life, my family, my work at the show. And she kept, like, everybody that saw her in the hallway, because other people would be moving through the service corridors, other celebrities and show, agents and people who work for the show. And every person that she walked by was happy to see her, hugging her. She kept apologizing. "I'm so sorry. I want to talk for a minute," because she was just wonderful, just a wonderful, wonderful person. And that's one of the things that makes my life so weird. It's like we talk about these films that we've watched with kids, and now we get the chance to meet and hang out with some of the people that made these films so great. It's surreal. I say very often, like, I have the weirdest life in the world to be able to do what I do and meet these people. So yeah, those are great choices, man. I love those films too.
Yeah.
Young Sam Rockwell kind of hanging out in Ninja Turtles. Was it the first one?
That's right. He's in the first one. Yeah, that's right. He's one of the almost Foot Clan. He's the one that's kind of like bringing all the kids in and telling them they can get cigarettes and such. I mean, that's another thing that kind of shows how different movies were in back in that time, because Turtles was 1990. So, there's a scene in it where a teenage kid is asking Sam Rockwell's character for cigarettes. He's like, "You want regular or menthol?" It's like, they don't do that in movies anymore.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
They definitely don't do that anymore. So, all right. Number 2 on your list.
Number 2. Oh man. Yeah, this is one that I kind of thinking it's gonna be somewhere on your list too. I don't know. One of them. The movie about a group of kids trying to save their homes from the evil developers, trying to take down Astoria. The Truffle Shuffle and Hey You Guys. It's obviously the Goonies.
Yeah.
One of the greatest kid ensemble films, if not the greatest ever put to celluloid, with a group of young actors, all of whom I think have gone on to great things in and outside of the industry. You've got, I mean, it's just this feel good, Spielberg, kind of like come and just ride the ride. It's like a ride movie. It's like you're with them throughout, Chester Cobblepot and Sloth and, just the Fratellis coming after them, with Joey Pants out there as one of the Fratelli brothers. Just like iconic actors of the time, iconic moments, like the lore of the film, and then the Cyndi Lauper rock and wrestling connection that they
Yep.
brought together. The video, I mean, the video event of the Goonies Good Enough video, which was
I mean,
shown in 2 parts, right? Yeah,
Captain Lou Albano. I mean,
Captain
come
Lou,
on.
Andre the Giant. Like, that video still makes me laugh when I watch it. You've got the great Rowdy Roddy Piper, who I did get a chance to meet as well back in the day. God bless his soul. May he rest in peace. Doing his thing, and it's just, I don't know. It's just it's so 80s, right? Like, it is such a jewel of the 80s. Every bit of this film and all the merchandising and the promotion that went into it. The movie itself, who like among us in this world of Comic-Con today, us middle-aged guys now, who didn't feel like a Goonie when they were that age, right? Like, you tried to figure out which one you were. Everybody wanted to be Mikey because he was kind of silently cool, a little nerdy and awkward, but most of us were pretty much, one of the others, Mouth or Data, right? I mean, but to see, Ke Huy Quan, to see him go on now, finally, to be recognized for his chops, right? Like, how great is that, right?
I was such a big fan of that movie and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And when he and Brendan Fraser both won Oscars in the same year, I was so excited because I adore both of those actors. And you're right, to see Ke Huy Quan get such a resurgence in his career after so long, and then to see him in Loki and to see him in, like, he's doing more projects now. He's back to work. It's so heartwarming to see him back to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's, again, Goonies, like a lot of the films I think I put on this list, I consider really close to perfect movies, and the Goonies is up there. I mean, it has its moments. Like, there's like the whole thing about the octopus, which was cut out of the film, but it's in the music video. And they mention it in the film, when the cops are asking them stuff about, what happened, and they say the octopus was scared. It's like, what octopus? But then even this is before the internet, right? We're digging in to try to find out what's going on with that. There was no IMDb to find the trivia to figure out what that disconnect was. Like, you had to read magazines and word of mouth stuff to get the answers for, there was an octopus scene that they didn't include in the movie. Great movie, great cast. I could watch that a million times. I could watch it. There's that thing that goes around social media. What movie would you watch for 24 hours straight for $1 million? Like, I don't know why that's such a hardship for anybody, but I mean, the Goonies would be easily my choice for that. I just watch that for 24 hours and collect my $1 million.
Yeah, that's surprisingly not in my top 5, but it is in my honorable mentions. And it has nothing to do with the movie for a reason it not being in my top 5. It's just there were so many other great movies that it was hard to choose and narrow down. And I'm sure this won't be the last time we do it, but we talk about these great opportunities to get to meet these actors that have been part of it. Corey Feldman was at Contropolis, New Jersey last year. Mm-hmm. I got to moderate a panel with Sean Astin last year through Fan Expo, which was a great honor for me because you mentioned, in addition to Mikey, you talk about Lord of the Rings and all these other great franchises that he's been a part of and movies that he's been a part of. So and you talked about like almost all of them have moved on to have great careers. Joey Pants, obviously. Martha Plimpton she's been really successful on television. Josh Brolin's in the Marvel universe now. Jeff Cohen is a hugely successful talent agent. Like, they all have great careers now, and it's great to watch and to know.
For sure, yeah.
So we've
had Joey Pants at our shows. We've had Corey Feldman. We have had Sean Astin at our shows. We really wanted to get Ke Huy Quan. I think he's very popular right now. Maybe down the road we'll see someone like him at one of our shows. Now that he's an Oscar winner, he's very busy. But yeah, like there's it's an amazing pedigree, that film, and the class of the Goonies has really kind of kept Hollywood going.
Yeah, for sure. So for my number 2, my number 1 and my number 2 are so close. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I probably could swap them, and it really wouldn't be it wouldn't make much of a difference. But my number two is a movie that I watch at least once a year. My number one and my number two are both movies I watch at least once a year. We talk about, living out boyhood dreams, and I mentioned Flight of the Navigator, of being able to flight a ship, flight a spacecraft, but who wouldn't want to be chosen to do it
I know
through an
what this is.
arcade game?
Oh yeah.
My number two is The Last Starfighter. It is a movie. I've had the opportunity to meet Lance Guest. There's been rumors for years about the possibility of a sequel. I'm kind of on the fence for it. It's like, well, why touch it? I don't know if it needs to be touched. I don't know if it needs a sequel. Definitely doesn't need a reboot. Just there's a lot of really dated special effects in this movie, but it doesn't bother me at all because it's just full of nostalgia for me of the number of times. I think this is one of those ones that if you could wear out a Blu-ray, or wear out a DVD, I probably would have done it with this movie. Because I remember buying the special edition when it released on Blu-ray. I bought it on DVD. I owned it on VHS. It was a movie that is always in my collection, and I love this movie so much. I don't really know what else I could say about it.
Oh yeah, this is definitely in my honorable mentions list. Because obviously, growing up in the 80s, video games were so huge, and it was the first movie to feature CGI as part of the film. It was, I don't know if it's the first, I think it's the first or one of the first movies, big budget movies to use CGI as part of the film when they, that very blocky spaceships and stuff. I think they still look pretty good, but what is it? Death Blossom moment.
The Death Blossom. Yep.
And Grig, it's just, it's being plucked out of your mundane life in a trailer park and realizing that you're meant for something better. Whose dream? That was everybody's dream as a kid. You're sure. I'm definitely right about that.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things that, like, when you're younger, you think about it, and you're like, oh, if somebody came down and chose me, I would absolutely go. And then the older you get, it's like, well, would I go? Because I've got family, I've got work obligations. Like, would I go along with it? But yeah, like, you're right. Like, who wouldn't have wanted to get chosen to, plucked away? Now games are so big it would never happen, because if they chose somebody who was good at video games, it would be like some 8-year-old kid.
Well, I mean, the theme is there in Ready Player One to some degree, right? Like, having that 80s knowledge and the ability to play those old school games and know them kind of leads that that protagonist to success. So I mean, we're still seeing it. I don't think we're seeing it the way we were, because now everybody. Back then, I think there were very few people who were good at those arcade games. Like, you had to have no social life to go into an arcade and play a game and master it to the degree that he does in that film. Like, that was, our home systems weren't really that kind of thing. And most of us that played video games it isn't like it is now, where everybody owns a PlayStation and an Xbox or whatever, or everybody's Switch, or everybody's on their phones playing games. Like, then it was like a very specific group of nerds and geeks that were in the arcades every day, plopping those quarters in, trying to get the kill screens on games and being, getting the top score, the perfect score. It was more like a novelty. Parents drop their kids off and go shop in the mall. As a teenager, I worked in an arcade, so I saw a lot of that. I think that's why that film is so great, is because then being that character being that good at one game was not. There was like one in your town that was the dude that was good at the games, right? And everybody else was just kind of like either casual, or they just couldn't get as good. They didn't have the money or the time or whatever. But totally great fucking. I almost swore. Totally great film.
You can on this podcast. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. I try to keep my language clean most of the time. But totally great film.
Yeah. All right. So then that takes us now into our choices for number one. And I'm curious because I'm very, I've listened to your list, and I don't know where you're going with your number one. So I'm very, very curious, but bring it on. What have you got for your number one?
Oh man, this is really not it's not like some deep dive for my number one. It's fairly obvious. Who didn't want to be a Jedi growing up as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
And I saw, this is dating me, but I saw this movie in theaters in 1977 um, with my dad, and it meant that much to me, And I mean, this is the first movie that I remember just stars in the eyes for. I mean, it's Star Wars: A New Hope. It's the 77 OG
Yeah.
Star Wars movie, right? Like, I have seen this movie more than any other film on any list I've ever made ever. Like, this is the movie I've watched the most. I've seen it hundreds, if not thousands of times, just with my son watching it since 1977. Every time when we were kids, no VCRs, right? Back then, no DVD players or streaming services. If it showed up on television, there was a big event, Star Wars tonight on, ABC at say 8:00. Everybody would come over to one kid's house and watch it again. And during the commercials, we were just like acting out the scenes. And I had the action figures. I still have some of my old toys from then. The T-shirt. I still wear Star Wars T-shirts to this day. And
I do too.
Yeah, I run a club at school. That's a group of kids that are like Comic-Con lover kids, and we do a Star Wars. We celebrate May the 4th every year at the school, where everyone dresses in Star Wars gear or dresses up like Star Wars characters. Like, this has got to be. It has to be the property, the IP, the film, the franchise that has had the biggest cultural impact on this planet. It has to be. I mean, Star Trek, we can argue, but I think Star Wars supersedes Star Trek. I think it's TV shows and continuing the movies, the toy lines, people collecting Star Wars toys as adults, and kids still playing with Star Wars toys, watching new movies, Disney picking. This is like the only Disney movie I think that I picked only because they bought Star Wars,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Star Wars 1977, A New Hope, my all-time movie I will never, ever outgrow. It is still to this day fantastic cinematography, fantastic music, sound, great acting. You can say what you will about the dialogue and Lucas's ability to do it, but this was when he was putting every ounce of himself into a movie. He was doing it to be successful. It was his one shot to show, the studio system. And say what you will about the guy now and what he did with the franchise after that. We can have that debate on some other podcast about Star Wars. But I will say in 1977, he was on his game. He wrote a great film. He pioneered special effects. He was smart enough to know that merchandising was going to be huge, right? These are all things that we see now as adults, but as a kid, this movie just turned me into a forever fan. And it remains to this day. And I'm in the bag for anything Star Wars. I don't care how good or bad it is. I can make that determination after, but I'm in the theater on day one when it's there. And I'm streaming it on day one when it drops. So Star Wars is my all-time top movie I will never outgrow.
It's a great one, and I can't fault you for it one single bit. I mean, we're talking about a franchise that might have had a lull at one point, but is probably at the strongest it's ever been now, with Mandalorian and Ahsoka and new movies coming out and new movies in the works. And not only that, but as you mentioned with the technology, redefining the technology back in 1977 and still redefining the technology now. You look at Mandalorian with the big LED wall that they use now so that they don't have to film in Tunisia anymore. Like, that was new technology that was brought, and now so many other studios are using that technology because of Star Wars, and them developing it and bringing it to the forefront of Hollywood. I knew we were going to bring, it was going to happen again, but talk about people that we've had the opportunity to meet over the years. Back in November at Rhode Island Comic-Con, Sir Anthony Daniels was one of the guests. And I remember being in the auditorium when he came in with his lovely wife, and he wanted to go over everything for his panel. And you were sitting there and engaging him in conversation. And Jay and I, you're one of your assistant program directors, or the assistant program director. Jay and I were just kind of standing there looking at each other, trying our hardest not to geek out by the fact that we were in the room with C-3PO. I mean, it was...
Yeah.
We, as moderators, as programming people, like, we try our hardest to be professional, and usually we pull it off rather well. But that was one of those few moments where we were like, all right, keep it under control. Keep it under control.
Yeah, I've met Billy D. Williams. I've met Peter Mayhew. I've met David Prowse. And then obviously Anthony Daniels this past year. We did have Carrie Fisher at one point. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. We also had Kenny Baker, but he passed, unfortunately, and he was obviously, we couldn't have him at the show. That was terrible and horrible. We lost him. But, Anthony Daniels was, I think, the cast member from Star Wars, or the original. I mean, we've met tons of people from the shows and stuff over the years, but we need to talk about the OG cast members. Like, I have yet to meet Mark Hamill. I'm hoping someday I get the chance.
Me too. I haven't met him yet either.
But Mr. Daniels, or Sir Anthony Daniels, he really wanted to make sure his presentation, his panel was great for the audience. Man, he put a lot of time and detail into how he wanted his panel to go. And, we pulled it off for him, and he was very happy with the way everything went. It was fantastic presentation to anybody that's listening that was in the audience or has ever seen him do his thing. It is just, he loves his fans so much, and he loves to make sure that they come away with what they feel is like worth their time and a great experience. And afterwards, he came backstage and he was complimenting all of us, the team, for the work that we had done. And I had the chance to tell him, which, again, my crazy life, I had the chance to tell him, when in 1977, my dad, this is what I said to him. You were standing there, I think, when I said this.
Mm-hmm.
My dad took me to see this movie called Star Wars, and this golden robot delivered the first lines in the first film of the series, and it said it changed my life. I said, I have lived my life loving Star Wars. I raised my son loving Star Wars. My wife and I bond over Star Wars. And he was so touched by that. You think he probably hears a lot of stuff like that from people, but he was still very attentive to that. And very grateful to, for me. His wife was also, she was like very sweet and very nice about everything. I mean, he was just a consummate gentleman. I was so glad to have the opportunity, and if we ever bring him back, and God, I hope we do at some point, and you come to one of our shows and he's there, please take the time to make sure you see him live, or go to his table and meet him, get a photo and an autograph, because he is just a class act across the board, man. It's wonderful when you meet your heroes and they're great like that. They're wonderful, good people. So cool.
Yeah, I agree with that 100% completely, and he was so nice and just such a gentleman. And yeah, I haven't really had the opportunity to meet many, but getting to meet Sir Anthony Daniels was just an incredible opportunity. It's one of my favorite memories of Rhode Island from last year.
Yeah, sure thing.
So, all right, that takes me then to my number one.
Let's hear this one. I'm curious.
Yeah, because I didn't have Goonies, I didn't have Star Wars, but this one is one that holds a very special place in my heart, mainly because of who stars in it. And is somebody that I still miss to this day, because I was devastated when he passed. It's a movie from 1991 where Captain James Hook kidnaps his children. And that is the movie Hook, directed by Steven Spielberg, with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman. And this is, we talk about, great opportunities. When I worked the show last year, and they sent me an email. This was before I was working with you guys at Altered Reality. They sent me an email saying, like, okay, who on the guest list would you want? Dante Basco, who plays Rufio, was on that list of guests. And I said, well, I kind of want to make him my top priority. Like, if I can get him, that would be great. And I got him. So I got to moderate a panel with Dante Basco one-on-one on stage in Philadelphia. We had a ton of fun. We kind of connected a little bit, so much so that I got to hang out with him a little bit more at Contrapolis, New Jersey, working with you guys at Rhode Island. Him and I, we have stayed in contact via email. So it's great to have a connection now to one of my favorite movies as a kid. But, putting aside that connection to Dante, this is just not just one of my favorite movies from my childhood, but one of those movies, one of my favorite Robin Williams movies. There's just, I don't know what it is about the movie, but it captures so much. I mean, it takes a classic tale and modernizes it, at least at the time. So to see Peter Pan as an adult, and now he's a family man trying to rescue his children, there's just so much to this movie, in my opinion. Not only that, but the number of people who cameo throughout the movie that one or two people may not even realize are in this movie. You've got Phil Collins plays a cameo as the detective who comes to the house after the kids. Gwyneth Paltrow plays a very young Wendy. But the two cameos a lot of other people may not realize are in it are George Lucas and Carrie Fisher are in the movie. They are actually at the very end of the movie when Toodles finds his marbles and he flies off, and there's a couple that are kissing on the bridge, and the pixie dust lands on him and they end up like floating. That's Carrie Fisher and George Lucas. And Glenn Close is in the movie as well. As the pirate that Hook puts in the boo box. And I love revealing that to people who don't know that that's Glenn Close. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. But I just have so much love for this movie. Robin Williams was a personal hero of mine, still is to this day, even though he's been gone for almost a decade now. And I don't know. I just adored this movie. I couldn't not. There was no way it was not going to be in my top 5. And then the more I thought about it, the higher up on the list it went.
Wow. Yeah. It's interesting, the difference between our films. I think because I'm a little older, a lot of my films are kind of earlier in some ways than yours are. Like you have films from the 90s. By then I was, in my teens, older teens. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't consider those movies I saw as a kid. So yeah, but Hook, man, that is a great choice. It is just a great film. We have Spielberg and Lucas at the top of our lists, respectively.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a reason, because they're just great directors then and even now. I mean, they're still putting out great films. Mm-hmm. I don't think Lucas is putting out nearly as much. I don't know. Has he put out anything lately?
I don't think so. I don't know what exactly he's doing, but he's a billionaire, so maybe he doesn't have to do much.
He doesn't have to.
I think he's probably consulting with Disney on Star Wars stuff. I don't, mm-hmm. They own the properties, but I'm sure, they talk to him on the regular, but who knows? I don't know. Spielberg's still out there. We just watched The Color Purple last night, the musical, my wife and I. That's him, right? Didn't he?
Yeah, I think that was him.
Yeah. So he's still out there kind of, making great movies. So he made The Goonies too. That's another Spielberg movie that's on my list, is E.T., right? So I got some.
Yeah.
It's kind of the 70s, 80s, and early 90s were all about those two guys just, cutting their teeth in Hollywood and making names for themselves and just pushing the envelope in the work that they did. So, it's not surprising, I suppose. But anyway, cool choice, man. Good list.
Yeah. I mean, and you talk about another, real quick mention of Hook too, is like you talk about, again, merchandising. I remember wanting and owning as many of the toys for Hook as I could. The rafts, the pirate ship, like all of it, all the Lost Boys, Hook and Rufio. And like, it's just, again, it just holds such a special place with me. And that's, I think it always will.
For sure.
All right. So, great top 5s from both of us. Very different. I love it when it happens that we don't share any movies. I don't mind it when people do, but there's so many movies out there that I think it's good that we didn't share.
Yeah.
Any of the same movies. However, some of our honorable mentions,
maybe
we might share,
maybe
because we both have a bunch. So let's go some of those through very relatively quickly. We don't have to go into any kind of discussion for them. We can just kind of rattle them off a little bit.
Okay.
So throw out a couple of your honorable mentions.
All right. Okay. Couple of mine. Breakfast Club. Growing up in the 80s, we still show this movie in school. The kids' psych classes usually show it to talk about the different archetypes.
Mhm.
Which one are you? I was the geek, obviously, growing up.
Yeah, I was. I'm pretty sure I was too.
And we had the Big Breakfast Club panel this year, so we had pretty much the entire cast, just about, I think, right at the
Yeah, I
show
got to
this year.
moderate. I moderated
You
that.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
I also have on my list The Monster Squad is one of those great Hollywood movies. Yeah, there he goes. Wolfman's
My
got
shirt.
nards.
Got nards.
Great movie for Halloween to throw in. Watch,
Yep.
fun, scary too. Like that's one of those kids movies that shouldn't be a kids movie. Like they're peeping the sister through the window. Like that's like a little creepy. Wouldn't see that in a kids movie today. And women get people getting, not just women, but people getting murdered and blown up, and it's very gory for a kids movie. But hey, whatever.
Mentioning virginity and
Yeah.
yeah.
Krull, one of my favorite
That's a
80s
good one.
flicks. Star Wars, basically it's just Star Wars again. It's all the hero's journey of Luke Skywalker is the same film pretty much, but set in a fantasy / sci-fi world. Speaking of fantasy, Dragon Slayer, one of my favorites as a kid. Again, some stuff in this movie you probably wouldn't want to show your kid today, but sure. That other going on the dark idea, the black hole, Disney's black hole. You can catch that on Disney Plus. It's worth your time. It's cool and creepy and freaky and funny and also scary. Let me think here. A couple more really quick. Oh, Masters of the Universe. Come on. I know people hate on this movie, but Dolph Lundgren as He-Man, right? First movie ever with Courtney Cox, right? Great film. A lot of fun. Campy. But, I mean, you've got Skeletor played by, oh, my God, what is his name? Oh my God, I can't remember the actor. It sucks.
I know, and it's bothering me too because I know it as well.
I'll remember, or you can look it up. But
Frank Langella.
Frank Langella. Oh my God, yep. Right. I just got it as you said it. Yeah, I mean, come on, the dude's an amazing actor. He chews the scenery in the best possible ways in that movie, and then a couple of movies that may be vague or not recognizable for you, your audience. Midnight Madness from the early 80s. Michael J. Fox, as in one of his first films, about a group of college kids that have to go around the city solving puzzles to win a big prize at the end. Yeah, it's one of the first movies my parents ever took me to. That's why I remember it. So if you can find it, it's not easy to find, but it's I have it on DVD, but it's called Midnight Madness. The famous Leon moment from that movie. If you know it, you know. And then Scavenger Hunt, another movie very similar to that from the 70s about a group of people trying to win an inheritance, and their dead rich uncle gives them this massive scavenger hunt around the city to find and get points, and the one with the highest points wins. And that's got like Dirk Benedict as a young guy. It had Arnold Schwarzenegger in his very first movie appearance in a cameo. Yeah, those are a couple of movies. And then last, and one movie I haven't mentioned is The Never-Ending Story. I can't not make a list about kid movies without, and have gotten to know and become good friends with Tammy Stronach, who played the childlike empress through my work in the cons, and she's done panels with me at educational panels at shows and stuff. And she's got a new movie dropping now, the Witch and the Man and Witch, I think it's called, that she is finally got. I think it's going to be dropping in some film festivals. But The Never-Ending Story, man, I mean, God, with Artax and, everybody crying over Artax dying in the Swamp of Sadness and, Luck Dragon. And it's just, yeah, so many movies. My God, Ben, so many movies from my childhood. It's hard to pare them down, but I will stop there to not belabor all of this.
No, it's fine. Never-Ending Story is also one that is on my my honorable mentions as well. Man and Witch is the movie.
Yeah.
That Tammy Stronach has coming out soon. But yeah, I mean, those are some great honorable mentions as well. I wrote Midnight Madness down because I love Michael J. Fox, and I wasn't familiar with that one.
Oh, he's like 15 or 16 in the film. He's like plays a kid. You'll see. You'll recognize some of the other actors in the film too. Stephen Furst is in it, and the actor who is in the star of American Werewolf in London. That actor. Who is the werewolf?
That's not Griffin Dunn.
No, that's
No.
Griffin Dunn was his friend. That's like
Yeah.
he's a ghost in the movie. But the main I can't remember. He's
Okay.
become like a horror icon kind of actor. He's also in the film. Check it out if you can find Midnight Madness. It's totally worth a watch. You'll like it.
Okay, I'll have to look for it. I mean, you mentioned talking about Michael J. Fox real quick, and I'll share a story with you real quick. Some of my friends know this already. I had I'm a massive Back to the Future fan, which surprisingly is not in my top 5. Kind of because I put it in a class of its own. But I've met almost the entire cast of Back to the Future over the years, and the one person I had never met was Michael J. Fox. That changed last summer when I had the opportunity to finally meet him. A great friend of mine was the one that moderated a panel with Michael and Chris Lloyd and Tom Wilson. And I didn't have any opportunity because I was so busy working that I didn't have any chance to go to his table to meet him. So a bunch of the people from the show, him included, told me, make sure you're backstage when that panel ends and we'll see what we can do about giving you an opportunity. And they made the opportunity happen. I got to meet Michael backstage after his panel, shake hands with him and, got to talk to him for a couple minutes. And it was one of those moments that I've met, similar to you, I've met so many people over the years. That was one of those ones that after it happened, I kind of just moved away as he was leaving. And I sat there and my buddy came up to me. He's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." And then I was like, "But I got to go because I got to be on the other side of the floor in a couple minutes." And I remember walking across the con floor and stopping, and I got emotional because it hit me that this is 35 years I've been waiting for this moment, and it finally happened.
Oh, that's great.
And I got really, really emotional about it. And then a part of me was disappointed. It's like, oh, I didn't get a picture with him, but he was in his wheelchair. So would I really want a picture of Michael in his wheelchair? And then the more I thought about it, and I'm like, the picture would have just been for me to post it online, and nobody needs to share in this memory but me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm fine without a picture.
Very good.
I have the memory, and that's all that matters.
That's great, man. I'm glad you got the chance to do that. It's a great meet.
So just to real quick throw out a couple of my honorable mentions before we get ready to wrap things up. I've got The Rocketeer from 1991.
Yep.
That's just a great movie. Little Monsters with Fred Savage and Howie Mandel from 1989. I mentioned Who Framed Roger Rabbit earlier. Harry and the Hendersons with John Lithgow.
Oh, yeah.
Transformers the movie from 1986.
Oh, wow.
Had the great opportunity to moderate a panel with Peter Cullen last year, which was fantastic. Never Ending Story and E.T. both on my list as well. Popeye from 1980.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
Another one with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Space Camp from 1986.
Okay.
With Kelly Preston and Leah Thompson. And then a couple other... This is a weird one to be on my honorable mentions, but for some reason, I just love this movie. Follow That Bird. From 1985.
Big Bird. Yeah. That's a deep cut.
A lot of the Sesame Street characters. Two more real quick ones. Adventures in Babysitting.
Uh-huh.
With Elizabeth Shue. And another one that I don't know if not enough people know about this movie, but a movie from 1987 called Batteries Not Included.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's another one we did on our podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
It's just another really heartwarming movie that I love. So, yeah, great lists, great top 5, great honorable mentions. Hopefully for listeners out there that are listening, this brought up a lot of, memories and is going to cause you to kind of maybe go back and watch some of these movies. Oh shit. One more. I forgot. Excalibur.
Oh, God.
1981.
Wow. Yeah. That's not a kid's movie.
No, it's PG, but just not.
Yeah,
it wasn't meant for
it's
kids.
80s PG, right? Where there's some nudity and profanity and violence. Now they don't do that anymore. But yeah, that was before PG-13 was a thing, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I had another one on mine that's kind of similar as Dune, the original Dune.
Yeah, I never saw the original Dune. My first foray with Dune was the most recent one.
Okay.
And funny enough, I'm actually going to a screening tonight of Dune Part 2
Oh, cool. Enjoy.
at the time that we're recording
I'm
this.
going to try to get to see. I did see the first one when it streamed. I have to go back and rewatch it, I think, before I go see the second one. But yeah, that original 80s movie is kind of a mess. But it's just Sting is in it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and Kyle MacLachlan, is the main character of the film. So it's definitely and it's it's directed by oh my god, what's his name? Eraserhead
I
director.
oh
The crazy guy, the Twin Peaks. I can't remember the director's name. I'm sorry, but
David Lynch.
David Lynch. Yeah, it's so David Lynch. It was like him at his most Lynchest. And if you're
Lynch at his most Lynchest.
If you're a fan of Dune or the new movie or the old movie or either of them or both of them, there's a great documentary called Jodorowsky's Dune. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's about a movie. They were going to do a Dune in the 70s before the one in the 80s came out. And they hired Alejandro Jodorowsky, who's a director, an avant-garde director from, I want to say Mexico, but I'm not, maybe Spanish. It might be a Spanish director. I think he's Spanish, who directed this movie called El Topo, which is like the craziest movie you'll ever see in your life. They hired him to make Dune, and he was so out there and he got so kind of crazy with it that eventually the whole production fell apart. But he hired H.R. Geiger for the first time to design ships and creatures, and a lot of those designs ended up in things like Star Wars, the sequels, the prequels, I should say. It ended up in things like Alien, like all of these different people, these set designers, these artists, these writers, all went on to bigger things because of all the work they had done that never saw the light of day through the Dune film that never happened. Check out that documentary. If you're a cinephile, that is a documentary you want to know, because
I'll have to check that out.
It's called Jodorowsky's Dune. It's so good. Even if you're not familiar with because they went on to hire David Lynch and they made the Dune movie, but Jodorowsky was the guy that was trying to put it together in his crazy manner. I think it'll open up you and your audience to a whole new group of films and filmmakers and creators if you check that out. So.
I love that. Yeah, and I love documentaries like that when you find out that there were originally supposed to be versions of movies that just never made it to the light. Another one that comes to mind is Superman. Oh, I forget what the title of the documentary is, but it's the one on the documentary about when Kevin Smith was supposed to make the next Superman movie.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it's good.
With Nicolas Cage as Superman and the giant spider. So that's another good documentary for people to check out. But yeah, great lists, great honorable mentions. Hopefully it encourages people to check out some movies. But before I let you go, obviously I want to give you an opportunity to kind of plug away anything you got going.
Okay.
Let us know about some altered reality shows, your TikTok, anything you want to plug. Now's the time.
Cool. Yeah. I'll start by plugging the altered reality shows for 2024. We've got 5 shows confirmed this year so far. There may be others, but as of right now, we have 5 dates settled. Anime Con, which is June 15th and 16th at the Rhode Island Convention Center in Providence. If you're in the Providence area, or you're in the New England area, or even in the tri-state area, you could take a train up. It's a great show. We did our first Anime Con last year. It was really popular. Well attended. We have a lot of great voice actors and creators coming. Really good time. Then in New Jersey at the Meadowlands Expo Center, July 13th and 14th is Contrapolis Jersey, which is our Contrapolis brand show. Just a small growing Comic-Con. We usually bring some great guests into those shows as well. A lot more of an intimate feel. So you get a chance to really spend time, walking the aisles, checking out some of the panels and meeting some of our guests. Then we have Colorado Springs Comic-Con out in the Springs at the Broadmoor Arena in Colorado Springs, August 23rd to the 25th. That's our second biggest show of the year. We've grown that show quite a bit over the last few years. A lot of big guests are there in the Springs if you're in the Colorado area or out on the West Coast. TerrorCon, September 27th to 29th, full-on horror themed con at the Royal Plaza in Marlborough, Mass. Another great venue, great show. If you're a horror fan, don't want to miss that. And then our flagship, our biggest show of the year, Rhode Island Comic Con, returns November 3rd to the 5th at the Convention Center. And we also use the Amica Mutual Pavilion, the AMP next door, and we use the Omni Hotel for our panel. So it's like a 3-building show. Tons of big celebrities. Like in 2023, we had like Marissa Tomei was there in 2023, was one of our biggest names. As you know, Anthony Daniels we spoke about. Just it surprises me which celebrities we manage to book each year. Sometimes so you don't want to miss that show. It is a big event every year. Totally worth it. So those are the altered reality shows that I'll be working on with my team this year. Ben, I'm sure will be at many, if not all of those shows moderating for us. On a personal note, I'm an educator, and what I do outside of all the other stuff that I do is I do educational programming at conventions, educational conventions and cons around the country, where I teach teachers how to teach with comics, pop culture, stuff like that. I have a cohort called LitX, LITX, X being a variable. We believe that literature can be anything. So it can be music, it can be video games, it can be graphic novels, it can be anything. It can be taught, storytelling can be taught through multiple means and multiple texts. So we are putting on events. We're actually building out our website now. We're growing. We were at New York Comic Con with a bunch of panels. We'll be at Chicago C2E2 with some panels this year. If you're going to be in Chicago, you can check out our offerings there. That's coming out soon when we finalize our schedule. We also have, we could find us on most socials at We Are LitX, WeAreLitX. So you could find us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube that way, because we have some programming up on YouTube, videos of us talking about education. And me personally, I go by, if you could see, you can't see here because it's not a video, but I go by the Trying Teacher is my kind of like online brand. And I have an Instagram, I have an X account on Trying Teacher. Instagram is Trying Teacher, and a TikTok at Trying Teacher, which I've got videos about me reviewing comics that I read, sometimes movie reviews, talking about education and teaching strategies. So go find me on TikTok and subscribe. I don't have a lot of followers, but I just do it for fun and just to kind of get some of that good stuff out there for teachers and wannabe teachers as well. I've been a teacher for 20 years in public schools, so I've got a lot of experience, and I use comics. I gestured behind me again. You can't see me. That have like a classroom library of thousands of graphic novels in my classroom for kids to read. So that's me. I do a lot of stuff. As you can see, but check out the Comic-Con shows, the altered reality shows. And if you come to the main stage, you see a guy running around it's like a chicken with his head cut off. It's probably me. You can say, hey.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I put all that information in the show notes as well. All the information where they can find Altered Reality and their list of events, LitX, your Instagram, your TikTok, and all that. I'll make sure that's all in the show notes for listeners.
Thank you very much.
To make it easier for them, they can just go to the show notes of this episode and find where to follow, and I encourage you guys to do that. And in addition to that, I'll even throw out there too, look up the Instagram accounts of all the shows as well. Because each of the shows has their own Instagram account as well as Altered Reality, and there you can find guest announcements and stuff like that. So, and as you mentioned, hopefully I'll be at most of, if not all of those shows, and I can't wait for con season to start back up. I know you have a little bit of a different feeling about that. But yeah, so Michael, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, man, this was great. Thank you for inviting me. I hope this was good, and you want me to do it again sometime.
Oh, you're welcome back on anytime. If the opportunity ever arises, I've done these at shows before, and doing one of these at a show would be great too.
Oh man, yeah, maybe we can make it happen.
Yeah,
let's see.
So I know Lewis is going to be coming on soon as well. We're going to be doing a WWE themed event or episode at some point. We just have to work that out. He's a great man, but he's a hard man to kind of nail down.
Yeah, he's very busy. Very, very busy guy.
He's incredibly busy. But thank you again for coming on and being a part of this. This was great.
Sure. Thank you.
So, all right. With that being said, guys, we're going to go into the Wilhelm post-credit, so stick around. Welcome, guys, into another Wilhelm post-credit. after such a great conversation about these childhood movies that we like going back and revisiting. And special thanks to Michael for coming on and doing this one with me. This was so much fun. This was one I was really anticipating doing. One, because it's a topic it's very close, and I was really, really looking forward to diving into. But two, to do the podcast with Michael. Michael and I are still relatively new friends. We've only been, known each other correspondingly for, about a year now. When I first started talks about potentially working with Altered Reality at their shows. And, Michael and I didn't meet for the first time until November. Didn't meet for the first time in person until November. But, and I hope he feels the same way, but we became pretty fast friends. And, I'm really looking forward to the next time we actually get to hang out in person. So like I said, hopefully he feels the same way about that. But special thank you for him for coming on and being a part of this this episode. I got a lot. Once again, I love that this is happening. It's one of my favorite parts about this. So much great feedback for this episode. So you know what? We're going to dive right into it because there's a lot that we have. Special thank you to everybody for contributing to it. But yeah, so let's dive right into it. First one comes from Alex Kruger, who was just on the top 5 baseball movies that I just did a couple weeks back. And he says, I've been so excited for this episode since you announced it was coming. Well, thank you, Alex. I've been excited for it too. At the time I'm recording this post credit, literally the night before you're hearing it is when I record these, but this episode was recorded a couple weeks ago. So yes, I did announce this a while back, and I was really looking forward to it. And since I recorded it, I've been really looking forward to getting it out to all of you to hear. So thank you for that, Alex. But now going into, I put the question out there as I always do, as I try to do for every episode. And this time it was like, what childhood movies do you constantly go back and revisit and tend to enjoy? So we got a lot of responses. Let's get through them. Starting first with Stephanie Kennedy. She says, Goonies. Short and sweet, right to the point. Love it, Steph. And Goonies is a favorite of mine as well. Beth Riker says The Iron Giant. Another short and sweet and to the point. And yeah, that's a great... It's been a while since I've watched Iron Giant. I really need to go back and revisit that one. Nan Imus says Princess Bride. Such a great movie. I had the honor of moderating a panel with Carrie Elwes not too long ago. About 2 years ago, and then this past November at Rhode Island Comic Con, I moderated a panel with Chris Sarandon, who is Prince Humperdinck in The Princess Bride. So 2 absolutely fantastic actors I've had the pleasure of meeting, and I'm sure I'll see them again through this journey of conventions, and who knows what other people from The Princess Bride, if any, I'll get to share the stage with or meet, as well as any of these other great movies that'll be brought up. Tony Bruno says Back to the Future, Goonies, Labyrinth, Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, and Aladdin. All great movies. I know I'm going to squash this right now. I know a lot of people who listen to this episode and are listening right now and know me and have known me for years are going to be questioning how come I didn't bring up Back to the Future in some of my favorite movies. Well, that is because anybody who knows me should know Back to the Future and all 3 of those movies, they're in a league of their own, okay? They get saved for special occasions because they are movies that are very special to me. So, yes, of course I love revisiting those movies. But, again, they're in a league of their own. Kristen Mayon says Jumanji, Mrs. Doubtfire, Rockadoodle. I know there's a lot more, but I'm drawing a blank. So, Jumanji and Mrs. Doubtfire, can't disagree with you one bit about there. And Rockadoodle, that's an OG. That's going back a ways. I remember that movie. That's another one I haven't seen in years, but yeah, God, that's a great movie. From what I remember of it, it's a great movie. AJ Stonkton, another one of my great con buddies who works with the Altered Reality team. AJ says, Willy Wonka, in parentheses, Gene Wilder. AJ, you don't need to look. We all know when you say Willy Wonka, we know you mean Gene Wilder. Mary Poppins, Wizard of Oz, and Mrs. Doubtfire. Another Mrs. Doubtfire one. That's great. And Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz was, when I did top 5 most essential movies, Wizard of Oz was my number 1. It's a great, great flick. Sean Pallas says Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, and Jurassic Park. Each and every one of these are franchises. And I'm not complaining in the least because all of them... all right, some of the franchises, one or two of those franchises have some weak links in the chain, but I'll accept it. They're good. Chris Jones says Transformers the movie, The Goonies, The Lost Boys. You revisit that from being young? I don't know if you should have been watching that one. Empire Strikes Back, The Princess Bride, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. More great choices. Another Goonies one in there. Empire from Star Wars, Princess Bride, another Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom. I prefer Last Crusade over Temple of Doom, but Temple of Doom is great. Ke Huy Quan, come on. Can't go wrong with Short Round. Erica Enferder says, honestly, so many. Labyrinth, Princess Bride, Neverending Story, Goonies, Ghostbusters, Monster Squad, Wolfman's Got Nards, Little Mermaid, Finding Nemo, Inside Out, Aladdin, Lion King, Hook, Popeye, and so many more. I'm gonna call you out on the Inside Out one. That's not really childhood, because that's relatively new. That's within the past decade, and I know you're not a kid, Erica, so I'm gonna call you out on that one. But all the other ones, I think are very, very fitting. Monster Squad, great. Of course, Aladdin, Hook, on my list. I mean, come on. So special to my heart. And Popeye. Hollywood, listen, I know you're trying. Don't remake Popeye. It's not needed. It's not needed. Denise Evangelisto Anderton says, my girly pick is Steel Magnolias. That all-star cast alone has my vote. It has every emotion all in one. I laugh and I cry. I can relate as a mother who has children and lost a child. On the flip side, kid in me, The Last Starfighter. Robert Preston as Centauri, arcade game gone, real life. I mentioned it. It's on my list. Last Starfighter. Listen, folks, if you haven't seen The Last Starfighter, yes, the special effects are, I'm not even going to say a little dated. They're dated. Such a great movie, though. I don't care how dated it is. If you've never seen The Last Starfighter, do yourself a favor and watch The Last Starfighter. It's so good. Derek O'Neill says, I don't know if this fits the brief, but I'm the youngest of 5 brothers, so my childhood favorites were Breakfast Club, Nightmare on Elm Street, another Lost Boys, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I could possibly live on a desert and watch any of them on repeat. Funny enough, Breakfast Club, very pertinent to today, March 24th, 1984. And today is March 24th, 2024, at least the day I'm recording this. It is March 24th, so it is the 40th anniversary of the day they had detention. Not of the movie. The movie released at a different time of year. But it is the 40th anniversary of the day of their detention. And of course, me being who I am, I posted a picture of me with Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, and Ali Sheedy. Along with Andrew McCarthy was in that picture too. But moving on, Megan Dively Lehman says The Goonies, Indiana Jones, A Christmas Story, Jurassic Park, The Sound of Music. Good Lord, how can I forget Ghostbusters? Just saw the newest one last night. I just saw it tonight, as a matter of fact, and I highly enjoyed it. And Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump's a great movie. Forrest Gump has a fantastic soundtrack. For anybody who's a music fan, man, what a great soundtrack. Jamie Dimmick says, number 1, Goonies. It's the perfect childhood movie. Goonies getting a lot of love, man. Love it. No particular order for these. An American Tail. The Neverending Story, no matter how much it traumatizes me. And Lilo and Stitch. Neverending Story is another one they're remaking. And God, Hollywood is running out of ideas. There are some great original movies that still come out, but I'm kind of getting tired of the remakes. Let's chill, please. Original stuff. Paul Williams. This ought to be fun. And I mean that wholeheartedly in the nicest way. In no particular order, The Secret of Nim. As a kid, The Great Owl scared the living hell out of me. Secret of Nim is a great movie. The Last Starfighter, another great mention. Alice in Wonderland, Empire Strikes Back, and here we go, Night of the Living Dead. Yes, I saw it way too early in life. Of course you did. Why am I not surprised? You were doing good. You were doing so good. For anybody listening, Paul always throws in the horror stuff because he's a huge horror fan. What lies beneath Podcast Zero? It's on break right now, but go check it out because there's some great backlog to go listen to. Jennifer Kennedy says The Lost Boys. Man, God, I can't complain. I saw Total Recall when I was way too young, so I guess I can't complain. But anyway, Lost Boys, Toy Soldiers, Dream a Little Dream. The first is my love for Corey and vampires. I loved the adventure and kids besting adults in Toy Story and Toy Soldiers, and it was my first action movie. So great. That's awesome. Sarah Gear says Goonies, because I always wanted to go on an adventure like that. Lion King, the animation, the story, and the music. Aladdin, See Above. The Bluebird. I loved a lot of Shirley Temple movies when I was a kid, but this one just stuck with me. I've never seen Bluebird. I've never even heard of it. I'm not gonna lie. So, but fair enough. Those are some good choices. And Bluebird, I'll have to look into. Nathan Moreau says, "Oh man, narrowing down all the movies I have watched in my lifetime that I will always rewatch to a top 5 is next to impossible. And thanks for showing my age. I'm going to have to put some trilogy sagas in here because you can only choose one of them. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trilogy, as I was a diehard both of these movies and the cartoons growing up. The Back to the Future series are always worthy of rewatching with Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd at their best. The first Transformers movie will always give me chills when I hear the voice of Optimus Prime for the first time in that movie. The Never-Ending Story. Yes, I loved it when they broke out that song in Stranger Things. Last but not least, I will always watch the Star Wars saga as it's grown with me throughout my life." Great choices. I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 and 2 in my top 5, of course, because they're just great movies. I'm not going to name the trilogy because the third one is kind of a forgettable movie. I guess it has its moments. Back to the Future again being mentioned, I said, they're kind of on a pedestal when it comes to me. So of course they're very very important in my life as well. The first Transformers movie, I'm not sure if you mean the live action or not. If you do, I'm going to call you out like I did with Erica with Inside Out because I know that's not from your childhood. So I'm going to assume you mean the animated movie. But if that's the case, then yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%. And yes, hearing them sing the song from Neverending Story and Stranger Things was great. And lastly, and longly, we have Jamie Holland's Palace, dear friend of mine from childhood. She says, "I typed a whole thing and then Facebook freaking refreshed. I'll give you my top 5, but only 2 will have the extensive why because I can't bring myself to type the rest again." Sorry, Jamie. She starts with saying Labyrinth. I could recite that movie in my sleep. My sister and I still randomly send each other a quote from it and easily do a whole scene of dialogue. I love Jennifer Connelly as the female protagonist and ultimate heroine when she rescues her brother. I love the weird Jim Henson Muppets. I love the music. I love the tricks and challenges. And David Bowie was in his prime. Never-Ending Story. I love the fantastical scenery and adventures. I love the twinkle in the eye of the bookstore owner when he told Bastian he couldn't read the book. I love the coziness of Bastian's setup in the school attic as he was reading the book. Artak succumbing to the swamp of sadness, that scene is burned into my memory, and if I ever suffer from amnesia, I'll probably still remember that scene. I held my breath when Atreyu passed the Oracle. A very cool scene. The characters are so memorable as well. Atreyu, the Rockbiter, Morla, the Childlike Empress, Mork, Falkor. I still sometimes see Morla in a hilly, mossy, grassy area. There's also something about the way they ate food in the movie. Maybe ASMR before I knew about ASMR. Bastion sandwich, the stew or soup Atreyu was given when he met Falkor, the Rockbiter's rocks, all so satisfying. Who doesn't quote the childlike Empress when she yells, "Call my name"? And also, who knew he yelled Moonchild? That's what he yells! I keep forgetting because I never knew what it was, and I knew I looked it up and I couldn't remember. Sorry. And who knew he yelled Moonchild before the internet? Because I certainly didn't. And no, I didn't read the book. And who doesn't love when Falkor helps Bastion chase the bullies into the dumpster? My others, without the extensive why, in no particular order: Mary Poppins. I love singing along with this, especially Feed the Birds and Chim Chimney. Newsies, another one I love to quote and sing to, and we learn a little along the way about the newsboy strike of 1899. And Nightmare Before Christmas. I love Tim Burton and Danny Elfman and all their dark quirkiness, and we still try to watch it every year, sometime between Halloween and Christmas. Thank you for all of that, Jamie. God, I wanted a Falkor so bad. So bad I wanted a Falkor growing up. And as for the Mary Poppins, it's it's great because I put a post out there one time asking people if you could see me perform anything from a musical, what would it be? And so many people posted, some great roles from The Music Man and Greatest Showman and stuff. But Jamie, I believe, was the one that said she could see me playing Bert from Mary Poppins. And I loved that so much because I love Dick Van Dyke. I love Bert from Mary Poppins. He's such a great character. And I sing right along with all of those songs too, Jamie. So thank you for all of that. But thank you to everybody for all of this great feedback. I love it. Let's keep this going in future episodes of this podcast. I've got a lot of top fives lined up. I don't know which one is coming next, so keep your eye out on social media. I'll be posting it, on the Wilhelm Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Wilhelm podcast. So you can go there to keep track of what episodes are coming up and where you can leave feedback. Or you can always just email me directly, feedback@wilhelmpodcast.com. If you want to leave me a voicemail, and let me know about all of that, and give me the feedback that way. It's going to be great. And, speaking of that, I do still have one more. I have one more piece of feedback, and this one actually comes in the form of a voicemail. It's one of the reasons I saved it for last. I kicked it off with Alex, and I'm going to end it with Alex because he did send me a voicemail for this. So let's go ahead and let's play this voicemail from Alex.
Hey all, Alex Kruger leaving feedback for favorite childhood movies you'll never outgrow. Number 5, Surf Ninjas, Ernie Reyes Jr., Leslie Nielsen, the Sega Game Gear, and Rob Schneider. This movie has always made me laugh and ensured I was singing Barbara Ann incorrectly. Number 4, D2, The Mighty Ducks. It's thanks to this movie that I have always known that Iceland and Greenland have names that do not represent their ecosystem. I love this flick for a great job by the cast, especially the newcomers. And I don't know a soul alive who has seen this movie as a kid and hasn't tried the knuckle puck. Bash Brothers for life. Number 3, Three Ninjas. Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum stage a martial arts version of Home Alone, and pure hilarity ensues. This movie is one that doesn't get enough love these days, but anyone from a certain era will always speak very highly of it. Their bedroom was so cool, and even though it made no sense, I always wanted to play Super Mario Bros. 3 with a Power Glove. Oh, the Power Glove. What a time to be alive. Number 2, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Any movie I can show my girls and they will beg to watch it again is going to be a big hit, and this one is no exception. Rick Moranis in his prime. Crazy special effects for the era. And when I was 8, I went to Universal Studios in Orlando and was able to walk around in a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids world, and that memory will forever live with me. Damn, what a great movie. And number 1, Heavyweights. There was never a doubt this was my number 1. Peak villain Ben Stiller. so many Mighty Ducks cast members, and ungodly quotable. This pleases me is one of my most popular memes to use with my friends, as is "Do it to it, Lars," and "It is a pleasure to serve you, Tony." Not only that, but has any movie romanticized off-road go-karting like this film? But the single craziest stat is that Paul freaking Feig, I don't know, is Skinny Tim. Honorable mentions, because as the youngest of four, I was introduced to way too many movies I shouldn't have as a kid. Goes to Hackers, Johnny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, Wendell Pierce, Fisher Stephens, and of course Matthew Lillard in a Technicolor fever dream. Who hasn't said mess with the best, die like the rest at some point in their life? That's it for me. As always, keep up the great work.
Thank you for that, Alex. And man, way to bring in 5 movies in your top 5 that haven't been mentioned at all. Surf Ninjas, D2, 3 Ninjas. Come on, man. That is such a great movie. I have not seen that movie in years. That's definitely one I need to go back and revisit. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Great movie. I even like Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, which was the awful sequel with Kerry Russell, coming in where they blew up the baby. Or maybe that's what it is. Honey, I Blew Up the Baby. No, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. That's right. I was right the first time. Heavyweights, great movie. And even, Hackers as your honorable mention. 6 movies, none of which had been mentioned. So way to go bringing in some fresh blood into the lists of movies. Hopefully you guys listening out there took away from this, what I did in movies that we just need to revisit, kind of bringing back some memories from childhood with a lot of these movies that were mentioned, whether Michael and I mentioned them in our top 5s or, you guys mentioned them in your feedback and you're hearing other people's feedback and being reminded of that. These movies do this for a reason, in reminding us about our childhood. So it's so great to be able to be reminded of what could arguably be a better time in our lives, a more innocent, we'll say that, a more innocent time in our lives. But thank you once again to everybody for all the great feedback that you left. I encourage you to leave feedback for future episodes. I encourage you guys to leave a review for the podcast if you enjoyed what you hear, whatever podcasting platform that you're on. Please leave a review for the podcast. It definitely helps find new listeners for the podcast. Or you can leave one directly on the website, wilhelmpodcast.com. And while you're there, you can listen to older episodes. You can find links on where to subscribe, where to find the social medias, all of that. WilhelmPodcast.com. It's an all-in-one shop for everything Wilhelm related. Speaking of everything Wilhelm related, I promised last top 5 episode I was going to give you the audio of the Christy Swanson panel I did. I haven't released it yet. It will be the next episode. It will be releasing on April 1st. I promise you that's not a joke. It will be the episode that releases on April 1st. You guys can all listen to that while I'm sitting in a courtroom for jury duty. That's not a joke either, unfortunately. But we'll see. Got to do my civic duty and go in there, and who knows? We'll see how everything turns out. But so leave a review. Tell your friends about the podcast. Word of mouth is great publicity. It definitely helps to find new listeners. And, be sure to leave that feedback for future episodes. Follow on social media at Wilhelm Podcast on Instagram and Facebook.com/Wilhelm Podcast. Give the page a like if you don't already. And then you can keep up with whatever episodes are coming up. And you can leave your feedback that way as well. So as I mentioned, we have the Christy Swanson audio is finally dropping next week. The Patreon will be officially launching in April. I know I said that in March, but I mean it this time. It is officially launching in April. The reason for the delay is because I have merch, and I want the merch to go hand in hand. I want the merch store to go hand in hand with the launch of the Patreon. And it's not a lot of crazy merch. Some t-shirts with the show logo on it. We got mugs so you can show your support buy a mug and show your support for the podcast at work. If you're at work or you're at home listening, whatever it is you do, there's going to be some fun stuff in the merch shop as well. So that was a little bit of the reason why the delay of the launch of the Patreon. They're going to go hand in hand because certain tiers of the Patreon are going to get discounts for merch and might even get you some free merch. You're going to have to pledge to the podcast, to the Patreon to find out. I did mention earlier, I went and saw Ghostbusters Frozen Empire tonight, and I will tell you this. As a fan of the Ghostbusters franchise, both movies and animated series from childhood, I highly enjoyed this movie. I know critically it's getting panned a little bit. Depends on who you ask. There's a lot of mixed reviews. The audience really likes it. The critics not so much. I will tell you, if you're a fan of the franchise, you will get what you need from this movie. But as I tell everybody, whether it's a review here on Wilhelm, or I'm at a panel, or I'm at a show, don't listen to me. Don't listen to critics. If you want to see a movie, go see the movie, judge it for yourself, and make your own decision as to whether or not you like it. Don't decide because of what critics say. Some of the best movies that people love and adore have been horribly panned by critics. Keep that in mind, okay? Many of these movies that we have mentioned on this podcast, whether it's myself and Michael or all of you through feedback, if you go and look at their ratings, they're not highly rated movies, but we love them anyway. So as for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, as for any other movie, go and see the movie for yourself. Don't listen to us. With that being said, thank you guys as always for listening. Thank you guys for subscribing, for reviewing, for telling your friends about the podcast, for everything you do. Thank you for all of you who left feedback this week. Thank you one more time to Michael G for coming on. Make sure you check out, listen back to all of the shows that Michael mentioned. I'm going to be at all of them as well. So you can find me at all of those shows. If you happen to go to any of them, please make it known, and we'll meet. I promise you, we'll meet up. But thank you as always for being a part of the community. I love doing this, and I love that I have people that follow me and listen. But until next time, I will see you guys down the road on another episode of Wilhelm. Take care.